You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DAHLIA, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So now that the dust is settled after the Supreme Court has made multiple decisions, people are starting to kind of figure out what does that mean. So, for example, as it pertains to the transgender girls or biological males playing in women's sports, some people are confused why California and multiple other states are still going to allow that to happen. So what the Supreme Court ruling did on Tuesday was what it did is it upheld the states that chose to ban biological males in women's sports. And so the Supreme Court didn't necessarily say for across the country, this is what you need to do. What it said is that if a state chooses to prevent transgender girls and women from competing in girls and women's sports, they can. But any states, I guess, that already allow that, those are still in stay. So the Supreme Court looks at the cases brought in front of them. And so as it pertained to Mississippi and states in which, you know, they had banned it and those got challenged, the Supreme Court said, no, the states can do that if they want to. They can keep girls and women's sports biologically female only. So according to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, he said the court concludes that separate sports teams for biological males and biological females are reasonable given the inherent physical differences between the sexes. In assessing the reasonableness of the regulations, the court must recognize the distinctiveness of competitive sports and the safety and competitive fairness issues that can arise when females are forced to compete against males. So they also, though, looked at Title IX. They said, according to ESPN, all 9 justices agreed that the Idaho and West Virginia laws that were argued in front of the court on January 13th do not violate Title IX. Justices Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented on the constitutional question about the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause, specifically presented the West Virginia case. But going back to what, you know, in terms of which states can, you know, continue to pursue what they're doing in terms of transgender individuals, including sports, California and other states are going to keep their laws on the books because that did not get challenged. If those do get challenged, the Supreme Court would have to hear a case where somebody is suing California or one of, I think even Colorado, where they are, look, my daughter does not want to compete or be in the same locker room or bathroom with a biological male. Then the Supreme Court, I believe, would then have to rule on that specifically. So the Supreme Court has codified the protection of the laws now in 27 states. And so that would be, I guess, a whole nother case that would have to come up. California has strong state laws, according to Fox News, specifically AB 1266, that explicitly protects the rights of transgender students to participate in school programs and athletic teams consistent with their identity. So Governor Gavin Newsom says the Supreme Court ruling doesn't impact us. He says the Supreme Court's decision does not affect California's laws. The state remains committed to ensuring every Californian, including the LGBTQ community, is met with dignity and respect. That's the thing. You know, if somebody wants, you know, females to be able to, you know, have their own advantage and not be disadvantaged because they have to compete again with men, that's not anti-LGBTQ. You know, protecting LGBTQ rights includes, you know, allowing them to marry, allowing them to do sports, allowing them to, have their domestic partner on their health insurance. These are the things. But to have somebody, shall we say, you know, who may not even be a true transgender individual, be able to switch teams, and that now affects other individuals' ability to have privacy, ability to compete. That's not being a advocate of the whole LGBTQ. In fact, I think this whole topic of transgender men or transgender females in women's sports actually has hurt the LGBTQ community, because many people in that community do not want that to be their reputation or them to be stereotyped with that. They're trying to do their own thing. Love who they love, be who they are. But you have some individuals that are crossing that line, like Leah Thomas, who allegedly did not do well as a male in the male sport, but did phenomenally as a female. I guess what some states are doing is saying what they'll do is they'll allow a transgender to compete against women. But if the top performing woman would have gotten gold or first place, if it wasn't for that transgender female, they will still give her a first place ribbon. But they will share the podium with the transgender female. So that's what some states are trying to do, because they're like, oh gosh, I think what it is a lot of people don't know, what to do politically. I mean, I think the answer is simple, but for those individuals that are, in that political realm, being a very progressive liberal Democrat, they're thinking, well, I don't want to, tick off all the women. We still need women's votes. So why don't we do this? Let everybody compete, but then we'll give out 2 first place ribbons. It still doesn't address the privacy issue. It still doesn't address the, there's a difference. I used to run track, and I never had a chance to be competitive because we moved a lot. I was offered to be on the teams and to run, and when I would do relay, they gave me anchor, which was a real big honor. Excuse me. But there's a difference when someone's in front of you. You perform differently. You might perform better if that competition helps you thrive. On the other end, seeing you beaten starts to affect you psychologically. And so if is somebody truly competing and winning if somebody's ahead of them? So anyway, multiple states, I believe, including California, Colorado, Hawaii, will continue having transgender males in female sports until somebody challenges that. 1-877-Dolly.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Dolly, or Facebook, The Dr. Dolly Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So some individuals struggle with this issue where they have a child who is crushing on a cousin, where their kid is attracted to somebody that they probably should never, ever be with. First cousin marriages are a lot more common outside the United States. I think 10% of marriages outside of the United States are between first and second cousins. In America, it's only 0.2% of marriages, but apparently there's a lot of states that still allow that. But I think it's a bad thing. I don't think children should fall for their cousins, and I think that there should be a very delicate intervention of that. We'll talk about which states where you can marry your first cousin in, but whether it's legal or not, I mean, if you, let's say you're married to your first cousin and you move states, it could be illegal in that state. So there's different jurisdictions, and we'll review those laws. But the question at hand is we have a listener whose child appears to have a crush on a cousin. Well, the first thing as a doctor I ask, and this isn't that uncommon, believe it or not, is how old is the child? So when I was 3 years old, so I don't have a lot of cousins. I only have one first cousin. That's it. Because my mom, her brother died when she was a kid and he was a kid. So my mom has no brothers or sisters. And my father only had one sister. And she only had one child, so I only have one cousin who's amazing. She's a great girl, love her. Love my cousin. But when I was a little girl, I just loved kissing men. I just loved men. I would just go up to strange men. I wanted to hold their hand. I wanted to. My mom had a heart attack. I was 3. Now, being a 3-year-old, maybe it's because I loved my father, and so I had this thing, and maybe it's because I fought with my mom, and so maybe I felt myself gravitate more towards men. I don't know, but I just loved men. I'd watch Mary Tyler Moore and have a crush on the Captain Steubing guy, Gavin McLeod, or whatever. Or I think I had a crush on Ricardo Montalban. I really liked Latino men at the time, too. But I was like 3. I was really young. And so the first question I have is, are they young? Because you will see a lot of kids when they're really, really young, not necessarily think that that's a love. It's just they hug, they kiss, they cuddle like they would a teddy bear. If they are 7, 8, 9, that's one thing. That's one conversation. If they are teenagers, that's a different conversation. So how this happens, people are like, how the hell can somebody be attracted to their kin, to a cousin? Well, if it's a situation, you have to also understand what the psyche is. If you have a child that doesn't have a lot of friends, is bullied a lot in school, and now there's somebody in the family that is nice to them because they have to be. You have to be nice to your cousins. You get a whooping if you weren't nice to your cousins. That's just the way it was. And it's somebody that will play with you, that will be nice to you. Some of these kids may not be very confused with their feelings and have a bond or an attraction to them. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a sexual attraction. It's just they want to be around somebody that doesn't bully them, that makes them feel good, that plays with them, that makes them laugh. And so you need to identify if your child is lonely. Because if your child is lonely, they are going to gravitate to whoever is giving them attention. It doesn't mean they're going to end up marrying them if they're 7 years old or 8 years old or 9-year-old, but you need to figure out the identifying reason why, they aren't being repelled in that way or becoming more and more close. That you could have like the coolest cousins going, yay, cousin, Joe is coming over. Can't wait to party. I love cousin Joe. That's good. We want people to be close with their cousins. But if you start to notice that they're in love with them or they want to marry them, you need to kind of look at why is that. If it's the only boy giving that girl attention, You need to talk to them about how these are family. You are not going to be marrying your family. You have to be actually pretty upfront about it. You don't want to embarrass them. But this is not something where you try to find euphemisms and this has to end as quickly as possible because we don't want feelings to grow. And we don't want awkwardness. And then we also don't want the cousin going, well, I can't go over there now. This is, this is going to be a Netflix movie, in a few years. So you do have to be honest and straight up with them. If they're a teenager, even more honesty. And there are some individuals out there where they want to be with there's even sister-brother incestual relationships. That I can't explain because we do have the genetic kind of block firewall to go, ooh, gross, no, not happening. But, for some people, they might not have that and accidentally they end up going the wrong direction with that. But if you do have a child, you do have to be honest and say this is not a relationship that can happen. All right. In nature, they don't want that to happen. There could be issues with, your kids. There could be, there's issues with laws. Well, I read up and my state says that they allow it. They go, look, you could be hurt. Okay. This is something that is not going to be a long-term solution. People have crushes. They have crushes all the time. Crushes are fleeting, but your job is to explain to them that if you do have somebody who's nice to you, that because not, the issue is it's not so much that they're falling for their cousin, is that they have that low threshold to bond and want to unite with somebody that's being kind. Well, now they could become a victim of trafficking. They could become, anybody could snow them. So you need to teach them about, it's a good teaching point of how, you have to discern things. When you find a person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, there's going to, there's a checklist that has to be done. Is this somebody that, is not going to take advantage of you? Is this somebody that's not going to hurt you? Is this not somebody that's going to make you go to jail because, the state doesn't allow it? So I always recommend honesty. If you don't think you can have the conversation, have your doctor have the conversation with them or a counselor. Now, which states are allowing cousin marriage? Apparently, there are no restrictions, we're being told, in California, Colorado, New York, Florida. In Arizona, Illinois, Indiana, Maine, Minnesota, Tennessee, Utah, Wisconsin, there are options and some allowances for first cousin marriage. Let me, I have like a breakdown here. Hold on. Let me actually pull this up. Wikipedia actually has a big long table of this. And I think in Nevada, it is absolutely banned. Let me just double check that. Yeah, in Nevada, it says you cannot marry your first cousin. Is the first cousin marriage criminalized, though? It's one thing to ban it, but can you go to jail for marrying your first cousin? Apparently, according to Wikipedia, in Nevada, yes, you can go to jail. Are sexual relations or cohabitation allowed? Are first cousin marriages void? Are out-of-state marriages by residents void? Is a first cousin once removed marriage allowed? Is a half cousin marriage allowed? Apparently, in a lot of states, you could marry your half cousin, but you cannot marry your half cousin in Kentucky or Louisiana. So this is a very, very interesting table. There's a lot to it, but you can apparently marry your first cousin in Alabama, Alaska, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Vermont, Virginia, American Samoa, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So it's fascinating to see the rules. And some of the rules, you have to be a certain age. But medically speaking, we don't recommend it. A first cousin does not have as much diversity of the gene pool. And the reason why we don't want people to marry within their family is because if there are gene issues, you don't weed them out. When you marry somebody different, that of a different family, of a different gene pool, then you have your autosomal dominant, your autosomal recessive. You have more of an opportunity to not make progeny that could have disease or issues. So hope that helped. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Sweet strawberry icing. You were strolling along in goodwill when just past that mid-century side table and denim jacket you spotted them, nestled in their display case. Miniature donut earrings. Oh, yes! Yes! Your favorite half-breakfast pastry, half-all-day dessert food, made into your favorite form of ear candy. Oh my. Those bejeweled sprinkles have satisfied some unknown hunger within you. Shh, do you smell that? That's the sugary scent of shopping success. For this is Goodwill. And with every item you buy, you fund local job training and more. So go forth. Bring home those donut earrings. And bring home so much good to your community. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners wants me to talk about the rise in women making more money than men and how that's affecting dating and how it's affecting relationships. So what is happening when the woman is the breadwinner? That's a change that's been happening. Now that, men have, there's been a lot of changes that have happened with men. I know the Democrats are trying to win men back because you could only be, anti-man for so long. It doesn't really help women when at the same time you're not pro-women, especially with what they need in sports and locker rooms and bathrooms. But women were getting hired at higher rates. They were ensuring, because of the pay discrepancy that had happened for years, many employers to look like they're not underpaying a woman, even if she needs to take off for other things, that she was still making a higher salary so that nobody could accuse them of that. There's been some very interesting changes where women have been put in roles where they make more money than male counterparts. And how does that affect relationships? And so, it's interesting. Being in a relationship myself, where I'm an MD, my husband's a chiropractor, we've been relatively even, but there's been some years where it's been different. And, we have switched some roles. If, one of us had to deal with the kids, who would lose more income? And whoever would lose more income, you go back and work, and the other one will, deal with the issue, deal with the kids. And so, it does, from a financial standpoint, does come out in terms of strategy. Now, well, if my job is the one that pays more, then if I have to move, we have to then move because my job is the one that's paying more. Wherever more money's coming from, that seems to elevate that sort of weight in terms of, decision making. And so for some, they're like, hey, fine by me. We're struggling to pay our rent or our mortgage. You get a job promotion. We will do whatever needs to be done. But, in terms of relationships, is that hard? What if, and one of our listeners, her son wants to, have a wife who feels fulfilled, but also, will take appropriate time with the babies, which she wants to do. But how does that happen if she's making more money? So is that altering the child rearing, the stay-at-home mom issue is that, there are more stay-at-home dads now if mom is bringing in more money. But if you're, in a relationship, you need to figure out what's important to you. If what's important is you guys being together, being able to afford, your home, being able to afford kids, being able to spend time with kids, we're seeing a lot of dads very happy to stay home with the kids. They're bonding with the kids. They're spending amazing time with them. Wife's bringing home money. So we are seeing roles reversed. In fact, I think there was a study that came out saying a significant number of college-educated women are marrying men without college degrees. According to the research, they say a quarter of college-educated women are marrying men without a college degree. Why? Because many of these men are economically stable. They often earn more than people with college degrees because they work in a trade. And so things are shifting. And so, the idea that, the man's going to be the breadwinner and the wife is going to stay home with the kids, it's a lot different than how our grandparents, lived. Because most homes need two incomes. Most kids don't want to be raised by daycare. They want, to be around their parents. Daycare is becoming very expensive. They have a captive audience. Daycare prices are ridiculously high. So now families are starting to kind of restructure and see what's the best way to do it. Now, how do men feel about being with a woman that makes more than them? Well, in the olden days, that was very difficult to stomach. It was not easy. You felt like everybody would know. You felt embarrassed. A man's value, relied on their strength, their physical ability, the money they were making. Life is kind of different now. One, it's nobody's business who's making what. Two is it's more of an embarrassment if your child, goes off and robs a bank or does a school shooting, because they didn't get the nurturing at home. So I think society is looking at things differently. And yes, women now, I've always advocated for equal work is equal pay. If somebody takes more time off, then they will make less. That's kind of par for the course. You can't pay people the same price where one person has to work 40 hours, another person 30. But the salary should be the same. For the amount of time they're working, the dollar for dollar, that it should be the same. It changed, and it was different because when you would hire, apply for a job, you would name your price. I worked at a place where I was making more than my boss. And it was because I had asked for an amount. I said, for me to come and work for you, this is what I need to make. Well, if the boss had never asked for that years ago, then now there's other individuals that are making more. And so let's say, some of the discrepancies were also attributed. Yes, there might have been misogyny, et cetera. But some of the issues could have also been, when I first started to, be in the workforce, I'm like, well, what does it pay? Okay, that's great. Thank you. Whereas maybe my male counterparts were like, look, I can't take anything less than this. Well, then, okay, then we'll give you that. So whoever is asking will get it. And if men at the time in the 90s were more aggressive, then they ended up having higher pay because they asked for it. Well, a lot of companies are like, well, wait a second. The reason why she's making this is because she didn't ask for more. She took the salary. That's what was offered. Whereas this person said he would have come unless we would give him this amount. That's why he has it. It's not that we were, choosing somebody, we were being, misogynistic or sexist. But so now what companies are doing is, no negotiating. This is the price. This is what everybody gets. You can make bonuses. But then some people are like, well, the bonuses are showing that the men are making more than the women. Well, if women are home with the kids, taking off more, for, let's say, menstrual cramps or health issues, they are going to make less bonuses and women will make less. But what a company can do to protect themselves from being accused is show that you are still paying them per hour, per bonus, the same thing where it's all across the board. Now, there's a lot of controversy over should employers pay for women to stay home with the kids or for men to stay home with the kids. A lot of employers are doing that. But if it's not financially feasible, they're just, moving towards AI and hiring less. But, relationships are very, very tricky. And sometimes it's not easy, when somebody is making more than another. But I'm going to tell you something. You're going to have more fights if somebody is spending more than the other or if you don't have the money. So, I think a lot of the younger generations are realizing that they hit the jackpot if they have somebody who, enjoys working and wants to help contribute, whether it's being a homemaker or whether it's being income, and that's not something necessarily to criticize. But for some people, it isn't easy. They want to know that they are able to have a job and get a job and be financially secure and provide for their family. It's very important for a man to feel he can provide for his family, just like it's very important for us moms to feel like that we can nurture and we can be supportive and help our kids grow. It's instinctive. But there's a lot of ways to nurture. There's a lot of ways to protect the family. In nature, there's certain species where the dad stays with the baby while the women hunt. I mean, it's humans are changing. But that's a great question. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
product claims without proof.
Every trucker on the road has heard product claims about an additive that simply didn't match their experience. Proof is found from third-party testing by a recognized, credible source. That's proof. Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator will improve your performance and fuel economy. For proof, we engaged the Ohio State University Center of Automotive Research to conduct an EPA-certified fuel economy test with Stiction Eliminator on a FedEx truck, a 2006 P500 Freightliner with 247,000 miles. The test showed a 3.6% increase in highway driving fuel economy from Stiction Eliminator, an oil additive. The complete report from OSU is available for download at hotshotsecret.com. That's proof.
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator, available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but I think summer break is ridiculous. I am seeing parents drag their kids to Target, into Walmart, parents frustrated. They don't know what to do with their kids for the next few months. And these kids should be learning. I don't get that. I don't understand why Christmas break or winter break is only 2 weeks when there's coughs and colds and everyone's trying to travel and, bad weather. Yet the summer is 3 months. And listen, I love you teachers. I do not want anything to happen to your current schedule. I know I don't want to make you mad. We appreciate all you do. But I think, I'm sorry, somebody has to say it. It is flippin' ridiculous that our kids are sitting there watching TV, playing video games for 3 months of the year. Why aren't they learning? What a waste. These kids could be learning. They could be doing so much. Now, the devil's advocate is saying, but they're going on vacation with their parents. They're spending time with their family. If they are, that's great. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing parents struggle with childcare. You know, and they're complaining. They're like, look, I pay taxes, right, for school, yet I have to pay for childcare 3 months of the year. Not that school is supposed to be childcare, but parents aren't happy with that. And because they still have to work. Not a lot of people can afford 3 months of vacation, right? In the real world, you work every day. Well, I mean, roughly throughout the week, although I know everybody's advocating for 3.5-day work weeks these days. So, you know, I remember in my particular situation with my kids, I made them do summer school. I made them do summer camp. And they were saying, you know, no, it's summer. I'm supposed to be resting. Do I rest in the summer? As an adult, you're going to be working. I go, summer break ends after school. There is no summer break. You have to support. Imagine telling your landlord, sorry, it's end of May, June, July. I don't pay rent. Your landlord will kick your ass out. And I explained to my kids early on, just because with school you get summer break doesn't mean that's real life. And I wanted my kids to learn. You know, even teachers tell me it is so hard in August or September to get these kids to remember what they learned 3 months prior. I go, why did they go for a 3-month break? But that's how we have it now. I say widen winter break by an extra couple weeks. I don't mind a month off in the winter because people are sick. They're not showing up to class anyway because they got COVID or flu. They're trying to race home, you know, to see the family. Delayed planes. Let's widen winter break and shorten summer break. Maybe have a couple extra weeks off during the year. But you don't have a child play video games for 3 months of the year. These children should be learning year round. So what do? Well, what we had to do was we had to pay extra. We had to pay extra for summer camp. We had to pay extra for summer school, which I think is BS because you're paying for but that's how all these colleges and schools and, you know, that's how they, you know, they make their money. But I was grateful at least there were programs they could do. And I didn't have them in there all day, but keep up your learning. You know how much a child could learn in 3 flipping months? So what do? If you live in an area where, no, it's not year-round school, it's their home playing video games for 3 months, what should you be doing with them? Well, you know, hopefully there are lots of, in your community, summer options, whether it's a camp, whether it's playing, whether it's, you know, learning, like, you know, Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. I mean, they used to have things where, you know, the kids would learn how to camp and start a fire and things like that. Try to have them learn practical stuff. If they're not going to be in the classroom, then teach them about practical things. Another thing is if you do have any friends that don't mind the kids learning and shadowing if they're older, see if they could spend an afternoon with one of your friends at work to see how it's done. Remember I told you how I want schools changed, where the mornings are your academic, no more than 20-minute long classes where they're learning what they need to do, get it reinforced, and then all those core classes done by the morning. This way, if you have trouble hiring teachers, they only have to work a half a day. The afternoon are your other teachers that can introduce them to all the trades. And all the different, depending on their grade level, you know, some will get exposed to construction. Actually, they all will have these few-week or month-long rotations in construction, in plumbing, in farming, in manufacturing, in medicine, in law, in education. So that by the time they are sophomores, which I think high school should end at age 16, they know what they want to go into in life. They know what they want to do. They have seen a lot of what these jobs are. And they've gotten some training so that junior and senior year is now their associate's degree or their trade certificate. So by the time everybody leaves at the age 18, they have either an associate's degree or they have a trade certification so they could start working at age 18. High school done. There's your free college. But how it is now is, we're having lack of proficiency. We're having kids getting fat over the summer, getting eye strain, playing video games. What a waste. Our kids should not be home playing video games. So your job is to get these kids exposed to things. Let kids see what construction is like, what medicine is like. Nobody's going to let a kid be around a doctor's office. Absolutely. I had my friends' kids, but they want to follow around and watch when I had my office. Absolutely. Let these kids see what's out there. These experiences are going to mean a lot. Let them volunteer. You know how many places need volunteers? Food banks, shelters. Let them help and learn, depending on their age. Ask local charities, what do you need? Do you need pictures from kids for, ask the local hospital. Like we have Sunrise Medical Center and UMC Children's Hospital. Ask them if the kids in the hospital would like to have a card or some pictures from other kids, and then have your kids do that. Have your kids do toy drives. Get your kids to be active this summer and do something meaningful. Plus, it helps boost their resume. When you apply for a job, it's not, well, what did you learn? It's what have you done? Well, I did this, I did this, I did this, I organized this. You know how cool that would be? Have your kids help you do a garage sale, and they get to keep some of the profit. Get these kids to do things other than video games. And if you do have to work, talk to other parents and get a pod, like I told you, where what you do is you have somebody watching Monday, somebody Tuesday, Wednesday, and so whoever has that day off will take care of the kids. And work out a system so that these kids are always doing something. They're around other kids, they're learning, and they're staying active. But summer break should be way the hell different than it is now. And I just don't understand why we are giving up weeks and months of our child's learning lives because we have a system of, sorry, it's summer vacation. If that summer vacation was you being with grandma and grandpa, you learning how to fish, you helping out on the farm, you making money, okay, you're being productive. But how many kids are being productive? It kills me to see the waste. Such waste. They should be out there selling lemonade. That's what I did. I hated summer vacation. Now, I understand I'm a workaholic, so I did lemonade stands. I was like, I might as well make money. I got to do something because I was sick of watching Price is Right and I Love Lucy reruns. So let's get to work, people. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.